I'm Louise Siddons, and I'm the curator of the OSU Art Collection and the museum project, which you guys might have heard of. We're doing the Postal Plaza development downtown. That'll be the Postal Plaza Gallery opening in the fall of 2013, so about a year from now. And in the meantime, we've got the Gardiner Gallery. That's our main exhibition space, and we collaborate with the art department to program that space. And this is the first show of our academic year, The Influence of Oklahoma, which is a show entirely produced from the collection of Kelly Knowlton, who's here beside me. First of all, thank you for coming, and thank you for sharing your collection with us. And can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you started out collecting, your relationship to art before you were a collector, maybe?
Okay, my name's Kelly Knowlton. Oklahoma is my home. I wasn't born here. All my family was born here but me. And I came here in 1971 and love Oklahoma and consider it my home. 15, 20 years ago, I acquired a piece of art that I loved in a estate sale, and it started me down the road. And my whole life I've collected things. I see beauty in everything, in people and art and objects and cars, and you know, I just see that there's art in everything, and beauty in everything if you choose to see it. And as I started looking for art, I became familiar and found a few pieces by J. McVicker of OSU. And you know, some of the first pieces that I actually bought, I bought from Maurice, who's in the audience tonight. And I just loved his work. And then I got to thinking, I wonder if, I knew he was on the faculty at OSU, and I wondered if, you know, all art professors were that talented, and I started seeking them out and finding them and calling them and going to see them, and I just saw some amazing things, and when I saw something that I liked, I tried to buy it. So that's how it happened.
Yeah, and you have no art background, no formal training of your own, right?
No, the only thing that I can attain to personally as far as art is I've written some poetry that a few people in this room have heard, but about women from a kind of a woman's perspective. So I could say I'm a bit of a poet maybe, but that's about the extent of my art.
Dare I ask, did you bring some poetry with you this evening?
You know, I was going to bring one and read it, and in the hustle and bustle of everything, I forgot actually, but maybe another time.
All right. So, as you said, you collect a bunch of different things. You collect modernist decorative arts, you collect furniture, things like that. How do you decide when you have a focus? Like, when did you realize it was Oklahoma faculty artists as opposed to just that? Or when did you decide you were going to collect modernist decorative arts? Do you think of your collections in that way when you start? Or does that grow naturally out of what you just see and like?
Well, the faculty collection just grew naturally out of what I saw and liked, and the more I met faculty members and saw their art, you know, the more it evolved that way. And I like other art, you know, I love Picasso's and Calder's and all the other art, but when I thought about how they influence art in general as a whole. It seemed like that art professors are a little unappreciated, and I don't see why. When you look at that art out there in the gallery, you know, how can it be? And they influence so many other people. Bill Goldston, when I talked to him on the phone, he's I guess a multimillionaire in New York that was studying to be an engineer here at OSU, and through an encounter with Jay McVicker, his whole life changed and he veered off in a different direction, and he gives a scholarship to a student here every year, I guess. Every semester for them to go to art school. And if it hadn't have been for that encounter with that art professor, and Bill told me this himself on the phone, that, you know, it changed his whole life, so it's pretty important.
Yeah. We went back and forth over the title of the show, and we're kind of brainstorming, and we ended up calling it The Influence of Oklahoma, which was something that you had said about, that's what interested you, was the influence between the artists that you saw. But do you see something specifically kind of about Oklahoma in art out there? It's an incredibly diverse show aesthetically, but there's something that ties it all together apart from the fact that everyone was here. Do you see a visual connection?
I see influences in a lot of the artists' work, from regional and national, you know, like McVicker's Mobile hanging in the middle. It's very similar to Alexander Calder's Mobiles. So you see, and even on a regional level or a state level, once you start seeing a lot of the art, you can see influences from one school to another, one person to another, you know, Dole Reed, Ella Jack, Dole Reed, and Jake Vicker, and the teaching and the progression and the process.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, did you have an opportunity to meet any of those artists that you just mentioned, or any of the artists that are in the show that you are exhibiting here?
I've met several, Mr. Dubois and Mr. Bloodgood, and yourself, Mr. Hinkle from OU, Sam from OU, you know, and I would love to meet some of the others, although that is impossible. But it's just like when I went to Mr. Bloodgood's house and looked at his art.
Call me Dean.
Professor Bloodgood, Dean. And his art and his home's beautiful, but when I got into the period, he had such a passion about certain pieces, and he knew every piece, and he knew why he painted them, and he described them to me and what he was feeling at the time that he painted it, and he could go right back to that, you know, and we were looking at paintings from the 60s and the 70s, which is the era, the period of time that I picked. And I see that a lot. It was a real creative time in the art world, and people were out of the box thinking and trying different things, and it's just a real, I love that period, that particular period. But you know, there's things represented out there from the 20s to the teens, actually, to 2001, I think. So there's a great diversity, but that's just a particular period that I personally like and appreciate.